AgweekTV weather is brought to you by Kaler Farms.
Weather portion of Ag Week now will look back at the month of September, and it was a soggy one with a really strong finish. Of course, the last week, flooding rains all over northern Iowa, southern Minnesota, many rivers at near record levels, which is unusual because it's September, and that makes this really a really unusual flooding event. Dry weather this past week has not helped the overall soggy pattern, and the outlook for October, unfortunately, the weather a little cooler, but I don't really see any let up in the overall rainy cycle. Drought monitor across the northern tri-state area. Still a few dry pockets out west, but most of the region is not dry at all. Of course, the drought monitor doesn't show you where it's too wet, which would be much of southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, much of the northern part of the Red River Valley. There are still dry pockets in the east and south. Southern California remains very dry. Found this week. This is an interesting depiction of rainfall this summer going back to May. Now watch as we accumulate totals throughout the summer. By the time we get to the end of the first week in June, there are some wet pockets. It's already started raining in the northern Red River Valley. Much of Iowa is fairly dry at the first week of June. Flash forward ahead, this is going to stop now about the 4th of July. It's gone wet across the northern Red River Valley and northern North Dakota. It's still dry in much of central Iowa. Stay tuned on that one. And there are pockets of the eastern Corn Belt that are fairly dry. Forward again now to the end of July, and so much for the dry summer in parts of the northern plains. Iowa still fairly dry in central Iowa, but that would quickly fill in during August, and this map only goes up through late August. It doesn't even show the flooding rains in September. So for the summer, you can see where it's wet, the upper Midwest and the northern plains. This week, we've got a jet stream with high amplitude, but it will bring one more area of low pressure into the middle. The rains will be a little further north on this one. We'll briefly tap into some colder weather in the northern plains, but I think that will be temporary. I don't see the overall pattern turning significantly below average. So the forecast then, first of all, for temperatures, the warm areas will be along the east and the south. Much of the north will be average to cool, with the really cool weather confined mostly out to the northern Rockies. And this week, the first week of October, the southwest looks dry. The southeast, the same tropical moisture. There will likely be some significant rains, mostly in North Dakota and points west. Not quite so bad further to the east. But the second week of October, I'm still expecting a rainy pattern in the Midwest. The dry weather in the south, the southeast should be dry unless there's a hurricane, and the wet weather will be from eastern North Dakota once again down through Iowa. So what are we looking at for this week? The first half of October, still wet in the north central, a temporary cool air intrusion, cool Rockies, but still warm along the east.